You've probably heard the story of Noah's Ark, right? The animals going in two by two, the giant flood, the rainbow at the end. But what if I told you the real story? The why of it all starts way before the first drop of rain. We're talking about a world of giants and heroes, a world so out of control it literally broke its creator's heart. So in this explainer, we're diving right into the source, Genesis chapter 6, to see why the great correction was needed and to check out the incredible blueprint for the ark itself. So the story kicks off with this wild line. There were giants in the earth in those days. Right away, before we even get to Noah or the flood, the text sets this scene that feels like something out of a fantasy novel. It tells you immediately that the world back then, well, it was a very, very different place. So what on earth was going on? Well, the text paints this picture of a time when humanity was just exploding across the planet. But this population boom led to something pretty strange. There were these unions between mysterious beings called the sons of God and human women. Now, people have debated exactly who these sons of God were for centuries. Angels, maybe powerful kings, but the result of these unions was not up for debate. Yeah, we're not talking about your average kids here. They grew up to be legendary figures, these mighty men of old, men of renown. You can just imagine a world populated by these larger-than-life characters, almost like the superheroes of the ancient world. But this incredible development was happening inside a society that was also just spiraling into total chaos. And right in the middle of all this, we get the first real hint of a divine countdown. A limit gets set. The text says God declares that humanity's days are now numbered at 120 years. Now, this isn't just some random number. It's a clear signal that a deadline has been put in place. A major change is coming for a world that has gone way, way off the rails. But here's the thing. The problem wasn't just the giants or the violence you could see on the surface. Nope. It was something much, much deeper. Something that was wrong at the very core of the human heart. And from the divine perspective, the view was absolutely heartbreaking. This is where the diagnosis gets incredibly serious, and the language here is absolute. It's not just about people doing bad things. The source says that the very imagination, the spark of human creativity, our ability to dream and plan, had become corrupt. Every single thought, every impulse was, and I quote, only evil continually. It was a complete and total system failure. And that leads to one of the most powerful and frankly humanizing statements in the entire text. This isn't just about divine anger. The words used are repented and grieved. That suggests a deep, personal sorrow, the kind of heartbreak a creator feels when they see what their own creation has become. So, with the world in this state and its creator heartbroken, we hit a massive turning point. A verdict is handed down for all of humanity, but with one single crucial exception. The judgment is absolute. You can think of it like a full system restore on a computer. The plan is to completely wipe the slate clean, to remove not just humanity, but almost all life from the face of the earth. It's a stark, all-encompassing verdict. But even in a total reboot, one file gets marked save. And this slide just lays it all out. The contrast is just wow. On one side, you have the entire world, all flesh, described as fundamentally corrupt, broken, and filled with violence. And on the other side, you have one man, Noah. He's called just, perfect in his generations, and someone who found grace. In a world of total chaos, he was the one exception, and that is why he was chosen. So Noah's our guy, and now the story completely shifts gears. We go from this huge moral problem to an incredible practical architectural solution. Noah gets a divine blueprint for a vessel that's going to save him, his family, and the future of all life on Earth. Okay, so let's be really clear about what the ark is. It's not just a big boat. Its main purpose, the reason for its existence, is preservation. It's basically a self-contained, floating biosphere designed not just to escape the flood, but to carry the genetic seeds of an entirely new world through the storm. And just look at the sheer scale of this project. 300 cubits long, 50 wide, 30 high. Now, a cubit is roughly the length of a forearm, so we're talking about a vessel that was enormous, something like 1.5 football fields long. And what's fascinating is that naval engineers have pointed out that its dimensions, that 6-to-1 length-to-width ratio, makes for an incredibly stable ship. This thing wasn't just big, it was brilliantly designed. And the instructions Noah received were incredibly specific, like a blueprint from a divine architect. Use gopher wood, which is a strong, resinous timber. Build rooms inside for all the animals. Waterproof the entire thing inside and out with pitch. It had to have one window, one door, and 3 separate decks. This was a detailed life-or-death set of commands. The passenger list for this trip was just as precise. You have Noah's family, of course, the seed of the new humanity. Then, a male and female pair of every single living creature. Birds, cattle, things that creep on the ground, a complete biological library. And of course, think about the incredible challenge of gathering and storing enough food to keep this floating zoo alive. So you have a world that's been condemned, a man who's been chosen, and a seemingly impossible task laid out before him. How does Noah react to this command to build a giant ship for a flood that no one has ever seen before? The chapter ends with this simple but unbelievably powerful statement. No hesitation, no questions, no trying to negotiate. Faced with this mind-boggling task, Noah simply did all of it, everything he was commanded to do. His obedience was as complete as the coming destruction. And that really leaves us with a big question at the heart of this whole story, doesn't it? Was the Great Flood primarily an act of destruction, just wiping the slate clean? Or was it, when you get right down to it, a radical act of preservation? A meticulous, targeted plan to save a tiny remnant and start everything all over again? The text really gives us both sides, leaving us to think about that incredible balance between judgment and grace.